The echoes of the Ukrainian cries for freedom continue to reverberate throughout Eastern Europe, as the country faces one of the biggest challenges in its history. The Russian army has launched a brutal attack on eastern Ukraine, and the strong resistance of the Ukrainian army has so far been able to hold them back. With the advance of the Russian army at a standstill, Vladimir Putin, the leader of Russia, began to look for alternative solutions to achieve his goals. Putin's search led him to knock on the doors of Alexander Lukashenko, the authoritarian leader of Belarus and China, but he found little support from either. Lukashenko's influence in the Ukrainian war has been reduced to the Western warnings and sanctions on Belarus. Meanwhile, Russia's military ammunition deficiencies and production impossibilities have forced them to turn towards China. But China has not responded to the Russian army's lack of ammunition. Any country that helps the Russian army in this regard risks facing heavy economic sanctions from the West. Increasing Turkey's power in the Black Sea, Poland's control of the Belarusian border, and Finland's membership in the NATO alliance have limited Russia's aggressive moves towards Eastern Europe. The United States and Turkey are two countries that have the potential to hinder Russia's plans in the Ukraine the most. The US has provided nearly $50 billion in military and financial aid to the Ukrainian army, and the recent sending of Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine will change the balance in the war. The US Navy forces, which have drawn attention to recent military activity of Russia in the Sea of Japan, are a deterrent to Russian aggression. Turkey's strategic location makes it one of the rulers of the Middle East geography, and a bridge between Asia and Europe. Turkey's leader Erdogan has wisely used this strategic position to moderate the policies of Russian leader Vladimir Putin since the beginning of the war. Erdogan's recent phone call with Putin demanded the end of the Ukrainian war, which was a clear warning to Russia. Turkey's undertaking of this task is an advantage for the world because of the recognition of Erdogan by many countries around the world and Putin's sensitive approach to Erdogan. The relationship between the two countries was not damaged too much, even the volatile relations due to the different perspectives on regional clashes such as regional security, economic cooperation, and common interest in Syria. In conclusion, Ukraine's cries for freedom continue to echo throughout Eastern Europe as the country faces one of the biggest challenges in its history. The strong resistance of the Ukrainian army has been able to hold back the Russian army's brutal attack on eastern Ukraine, and Western warnings and sanctions have reduced Lukashenko's influence in the Ukrainian war. With the US and Turkey's potential to hinder Russia's plans in Ukraine, Putin's invasion plans for Ukraine may lead to worse days for Russia, with its economy unable to invest in its own defense industry, and the loss of important economic income from Turkey. Moreover, Putin's actions have left Russia increasingly isolated from the world. Finland's recent membership in the NATO military alliance has disrupted Russia's invasion plans for Ukraine, and with the US and Turkey potentially hindering Russia's plans, Putin's invasion strategy may lead Russia into a period of complete collapse. The world is watching as the Ukraine war continues, and as Putin searches for alternative solutions to his invasion plans. The US and Turkey's deterrence to Russia aggression has become a critical factor in the outcome of the conflict. The future of Eastern Europe hangs in the balance, and the fate of Ukraine remains uncertain. It is essential to understand that Ukraine's battle for freedom is not only for its own sake, but also for the sake of global democracy. The world must stand with Ukraine to protect its sovereignty, freedom, and democracy against the aggression of a powerful nation. This conflict is a crucial test for the international community and its commitment to the principles of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The conflict in Ukraine has highlighted the fragile nature of international relations and the importance of diplomacy in resolving conflicts peacefully. The West's sanctions on Russia have shown the power of economic measures in changing the behavior of nations, but it has also highlighted the need for a comprehensive diplomatic solution to end the conflict. It is vital for the international community to come together and support Ukraine in its fight for freedom and democracy. The world must stand with Ukraine in its efforts to defend its territorial integrity and sovereignty against Russian aggression. The Ukraine crisis is not just a regional conflict, but also a global issue that threatens international peace and stability. The international community must work towards finding a diplomatic solution to the Ukraine crisis, which ensures Ukraine's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence. It is is essential to recognize Ukraine's right to self-determination and respect its sovereignty as enshrined in international law. The conflict in Ukraine has shown that the world needs to focus on resolving conflicts peacefully through dialogue and diplomacy rather than resorting to military solutions. It has highlighted the importance of international law and the role of international organizations in promoting peace and stability in the world. In conclusion, the conflict in Ukraine has been one of the most significant challenges to global peace and stability in recent times. The world must stand with Ukraine and support its efforts to defend its territorial integrity and sovereignty against Russian aggression. It is vital for the international community to work towards finding a diplomatic solution for the Ukraine crisis and ensuring that Ukraine's right to self-determination and sovereignty is respected. Only through dialogue and diplomacy can we hope to find a lasting solution to this conflict and prevent similar conflicts from arising in the future.